mute real quick.
All right. All right, let's call this thing to order. It's 4:05. And I don't know if anybody's had a chance to view the minutes. Or if you want to take a minute to review those from our last meeting. And whenever someone is ready.
I'll move for approval to the 16 minutes.
I see. Thank you, Jeff M. Thank you, Mike. Okay.
Gonna call for a vote.
Oh yeah, thank you very much. And all in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Jeff. Okey doke. We don't have any notes or anything, Brad, from any emails or anything from you?
No,
Okay, cool. Thanks.
texted Todd right before I came up here and make sure he didn't get it, but
Okay,
he said nothing
all right.
new.
All right, groovy, thanks. Okey doke. Well, then we will just pop right into old business. And the question of the parade. And first, before I get into the question, the parade info packet of info. I think probably one of the biggest safety items is that we have to have designated wheel walkers. Folks who will walk on both sides of the car and both sides of the trailer. Or just based on that tragic incident from quite a few years back. So that's just going to be one thing we're just organized to do that day. And then
Jamie, it's a car and trailer, both like,
I
or it's
haven't,
just like one on each side.
let's see. 4 wheel walkers. I think probably just one person on each side, probably for the trailer too. Though. But I'll go through that with more attention to detail and have that all ready for us.
I can also look through it too.
Okay,
If you want to have some.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I will delegate that to you. Thank you. Okay, but yeah, we're all set. Thank you, Elizabeth. And the trailer is at my house. And
We could have really used some help, Mike, I was like, I should have picked up Mike on the way to back this trailer up into Jamie's driveway.
you would have, you did a fantastic job backing it up into my driveway. There was like a giant truck and a giant trailer right in front of my driveway. She just maneuvered that Tesla like Austin Powers right into, I mean.
No, we took the trailer off and we like walked down the driveway. The guys all around were like, it's like that. We're like, yeah, no.
Yeah, we got it. So yeah, so that's ready. Now the question that I have is about the bags, of course, because we love to talk about the bags every meeting. I asked Todd, like, could we hand out the bags during the parade? And let's just have a brief discussion on that. I know that when we wrote the grant, it was in the before times, and it was to engage with our community. We had some lovely engagement during the art fair and had some lovely conversations with folks. I will be more organized for getting involved with Jazz Fest, and will staff a tent, a table for a little bit of time, like, during the day during Jazz Fest, to reach out to our community. But if you all haven't seen the collection of boxes of bags at the bottom of the steps, it actually gives me a tiny bit of anxiety because they're just sitting there. I want to give them out, but I also realize we don't have to give them all out at once. So my question is, do we take some boxes and some of our little papers that we've printed out with our info on it and hand them out to folks, a few hundred maybe, as we are walking through the parade? Do you think that would be a good use of bag distribution, or do we, just focus on doing Jazz Fest and then maybe focus in the fall tabling like at a Schnucks and a Freddy's and a Straub's one Saturday afternoon for a few hours to engage with people that way. I don't think this is an either or, this could be a both and. There are just a lot of bags. So let's discuss.
Is there some in the grant, a timeline by which bags are supposed to be distributed?
I don't think so, because the grant obviously changed some kind of perspective with COVID in mind. Mhm.
And there's no limitation on. We only give it to Webster residents.
So when we wrote the grant, that is the focus. I don't know if in the fine print, if it's only for Webster residents. When we were at the art fair, you know, I would say probably 90% of the bags were handed out to Webster peeps. But I wasn't gonna be like, oh, sorry, you know, after a lovely conversation with somebody, you don't live here.
And as I mentioned to you, is there a bag grant police?
Yes.
Yeah.
Put you away. I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah,
Second degree felony.
exactly. There'll be, grant police. running around.
No, seriously, I just didn't know if there were limitations. If we were limited, and if we gave one to somebody who lived in Brentwood for
Yeah.
violating.
I don't, again, I would have to look back at the grant at the fine print. At this point in the game, I asked Todd, I'm like, would we be allowed? He's like, well, it's up to the commission. I said, okay, well, we'll discuss it. So let's just like, is this a good use of the bag? You know, as I know it veers from what we initially intended. But do we just?
What's the number of bags we have left? And how many did we give out at Jazz or at the art fair and at the bike?
I have had a box of 200 bags and it's still very heavy. So we've probably given out 70 bags, if that.
Okay, and how many total bags do we have?
I think we have a ridiculous number of bags. I think we have like 2,000 bags.
Oh, then I say we should get them out of the parade.
I'm for chipping away, the chip away approach.
Okay.
You know, maybe you don't give them all out at the parade, but let's say you take, you know, a couple hundred.
Yeah.
I think it's a good opportunity to sort of brand ourselves in the Sustainability Commission, and let them kind of give them an idea of what we're doing also.
Yeah.
So there's that value to it.
Okay. I think that's
Awareness building.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's a decision then. Thank you, team. We will grab some boxes of bags before we go to my house, if whoever wants to come over. And we'll put the papers in that, and if we don't get to all of them, I'll just have my kids do it, so.
Fun summer project for them, huh?
Bribe them with food, which is how we get things done. Okay. That is resolved. All right, moving on to our, any other comments, questions, concerns before I move on? We're good? Rudy. Moving on to our next item in old business, the trash in the neighborhood, when the resident came and spoke with us to discuss trash in general, post-COVID, the COVID outbreak. I shouldn't say we are not in the post-COVID world ever. But also specifically the WKT, and we tossed around some ideas on what we could do to engage them. Carla and I met and pulled a little letter together. We reached out to them. And I have been in communication with them. I'm hoping to get something scheduled with them just to chat on the phone this week, because they are interested in talking to us. They have some ideas too. So we will see where that conversation goes. It seems kind of like they're, enthusiastic to see how we can help our neighbors read their local paper and or pick them up, which I think would be the goal. Okay, so that's the update there. And then I threw Jazz Fest on here. I meant to have more organized as far as figuring out who I can contact. Brad, will you ask Todd? Maybe I'll just ask Jenny. She might know. I just don't know who to contact for the Jazz Fest.
Okay.
And about,
Just
we
like
want
a
a table there to hand out these famous bags.
Okay.
And I looked on their website and couldn't find a direct contact. I know one of the organizers, but I mean, I have no idea what his role is. He probably doesn't want to talk to me about tabling. So I don't know if that's something you can throw to Todd or maybe,
Maybe put that Todd and Jenny, I'll send
Okay.
them an email
thank you.
and one should be able to
Okay,
answer, it, the other can't.
perfect. Thanks. If they just have a contact, that would be awesome. Thanks, Brad. Appreciate that. Okay. New business. We want to go over the plan for Ever Webster Groves to kind of, I was looking at this plan and trying to pinpoint some priorities. And I was looking at it in two ways. I was looking at it through the lens of the things that are already starting to organically happen. For instance, the meeting with the Traffic Advisory Commission. I met with them last week, I think. They have a liaison who's going to work with us, and hopefully we'll be able to identify a group of a subcommittee from this commission to work with them. There's $100,000 to spend on bike and pedestrian infrastructure specifically. That council approved in the budget, still in there, right, Pam? Awesome, thanks. Thank you very much. And I feel like there's some really great opportunities there to look at that 2014 plan, and also to kind of, you know, we've been talking about this quite a bit, reading about it, learning about it, so.
To clarify, you
Yeah.
have $100,000 for improving walkability and bikeability, and then you have another $100,000 for sustainability initiatives.
And that doesn't include the EV chargers, that's a separate thing, right? And the
that's all.
solar,
That's all. Yeah, another separate.
Separate
So,
thing.
yeah.
okay. So like I said, some of these things are starting to really pick up organically, so looking at the plan that way, and then also looking at the plan, knowing that the city is dealing with serious budget issues, constraints. So what are some of the things that we can get done that don't have a lot of money, but we have $100,000 as well, which I know isn't a lot, but it is $100,000 more than we've ever had before, so. Pretty awesome.
Jamie,
yes.
is there a time frame on that spend?
That's a good question. Do we know that?
I think it's 2026.
Okay,
Okay,
thanks. Good question, John. So, okay. Do you wanna, is there anything that we need to know from council regarding like the plan and where the plan sits right now that budget discussions are through?
I believe it's on the agenda in the next meeting,
Okay,
or the next first or second meeting in July.
okay,
And it's about whether we're gonna adopt the plan or
Okay.
not.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, and does a representative from our commission need to be present or?
They will contact you. about
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I think it'll be, I'm not sure.
Okay, all right, we'll just
Yeah,
wait.
yeah.
Okay, great. Brad, if you wouldn't mind pulling up the plan, please. Okay, yeah. And then I'm sure y'all probably didn't get a chance to scroll through this earlier.
Maybe scroll down, you want the
Yeah,
bills?
I'll drive. Yeah. Thanks, bud. So me telling you what to move. All right, let's see. Okay. So in our 4 focus areas, this one being the transportation mobility. Again, I was looking at this and understanding that like we're gonna be working with the Traffic Advisory Commission. And things are, coming together as far as like getting some bike lanes identified and striped. And so let me throw out like a couple of thoughts that I had when I was looking at this portion out to you all, and we can discuss, like some of the items. I'm gonna pull up my plan too, because I can't read from that far away. On there. Is a lot of the pedestrian plan. And then there are things that are like, that we put in there that, do we want to look into every time there's a new street that needs to be paved, how do we put into our code or processes that we consider it, for bike lanes or like, and I haven't looked at the plan in more than a year, I'll admit. But like, that's the kind of thing that I feel like would be worth discussing, or. And then how do we help our kids, with identified safe routes to school? We have experts right at the street hub, like that one, hub, what do you all thinking about what we should be prioritizing, being that we're gonna be working with TAC, the traffic peeps, and we have $100,000 to spend on in this.
I don't know if we're looking for safe school routes. We should also maybe reach out to the schools, because they probably have an idea of what are like the current most walkable popular routes.
Mhm.
And where there can be improvements,
Right.
like I know at Clark specifically, we have this crossing where everyone crosses Rock Hill Road. It's got like a little lighting up people, but it doesn't have a stop sign.
Mhm.
So I live on the other side of Rock Hill Road. I'd never let my kids, even though we live close enough for them to walk by themselves, I'd never let them walk by themselves, because I've seen people nearly hit at Rock Hill Road
Mhm.
multiple times.
Mhm.
So I think if we can somehow engage with the school communities, those things are probably already identified where we can make improvements.
Yeah.
We just have to find
Yeah, we don't know what we don't know, right? I'm sure they're aware of their trouble areas,
Yeah.
their trouble spots. Okay. And what do we think about the idea of like working this through, like, I don't even know if I'm using the right terminology, like code, and when they're like, how many streets do you all resurface every year? Is there kind of a method or formula?
It's generally, it's by lane miles. We've kind of got our list of what we've done in the past, and we, based on what the budget says we are getting, we try and figure out, we group the streets and areas just to make it more efficient for the contractor.
Yeah.
But then you look at the budget and how much prices are going for at the time, and try and balance that out with how many streets can we get in.
Yeah.
There's usually 1 or 2 major streets, and then what other streets can fit into the constraints we've got.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Okay.
so with oil prices right now, not many.
Yeah. Right. Right.
So one tool that I think, I brought this up a couple of years ago, and I think maybe we need to pursue it. Since we're gonna be taking another hard look at this, is Strava Metro.
Yeah.
Which is something, actually, there was a session on it at the American, I think it's called the American Planning Association, like their big national
Oh,
conference.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people who bike or run log their routes on Strava, which is the social media app.
Yeah,
But what they can do is they've got algorithms that can help you figure out what are the most popular routes in a particular city for biking, walking, whatever. And so, they can show you like a heat map.
uh-huh,
And that can help us prioritize, like, here's the roads people are using. And then, as we develop a list of streets in the city we want to consider for bike lanes or for other infrastructure, we can then match that up with maybe a list, when we see the city has certain roads on its calendar a year for resurfacing, that could help us. But it's a free tool. All you
Yeah.
have to do is you have to get, not everyone can have access to this. You have to be a local government.
yeah,
But I can research what we need. I don't know if we need like somebody to sign off from the city or just to,
Okay.
they need to validate that it's not just anyone
okay, yeah,
wanting access to this tool. But
right,
it's just, you're getting access to their data and it's all, you're not giving away anyone's identity or anything like that.
okay,
But I think it'd be at very minimum interesting to look at, to see where people, especially for biking,
yeah,
where they're biking in Webster.
right,
Have some real data at our fingertips.
right, that's like actually meeting people where they
Right.
actually are.
Right.
Okay, that's really interesting, so. All right. I like that idea, Jeff. So what I think I am gonna turn to is probably like we do a lot of things, it's a subcommittee to work with the Traffic Advisory Commission folks. And to work with the city on getting, some sort of plan pulled together to help see where we need to be spending money, figure out on what we need to be spending, and then work with the schools as well. So I feel like those are two different paths we can explore as far as our like transportation and mobility section that really kind of presents itself as a priority. So since we don't have everybody here tonight, what I think I can do this, and maybe Brad or Pam can correct me if I'm wrong, as long as we're including Katie in email communication, can I email the commission members to say who would like to be a part of this commission? Okay, is that okay with everybody, unless y'all know right now that you want to be a part of it? Okay, I'll just email everybody and then see who wants to participate in that subcommittee. In that same section, that focus area is EV. But Jeff, I think we should, that's on the agenda after this discussion, so let's just talk about that.
Yeah.
Is that cool?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, and then also in that section, we have city fleet, which is, we're starting to identify a couple of fleet vehicles that will be turned over to electric with some chargers, and there are things in here like that I believe are going to be good kind of phase 2 action items in here, like how to really start to create behavioral change, such as creating no idling policies and that, but I feel like we have a lot of like things we need to put in place first before we start to really touch on the behavior. I could be wrong. Do y'all think we should be doing both at the same time? Addressing behavioral. I can scroll down here. I forgot I was in charge. If anybody has a strong opinion about that. That was just my thought process of let's get a couple of these things in place first and then do behavior, but.
What do you mean by behavior?
So like encouraging like campaigns to encourage people to reduce their idling asking schools to post like, getting the city involved in posting no idling zone. I think we even have like zoning around schools that vehicles are not supposed to be idling. But, how do we enforce that? Well, it's social, right? So that's where the behavioral changes come into play. Also bandwidth, right? Like we have a lot that is like on our plate currently, and we are a volunteer group. And so I have to be very respectful of that as well, because I want to just do everything all at once, of course. All right. So then on the next page down, mobility options. Again, some of this is behavioral, which is like promote alternatives to single occupancy vehicle travel, understanding of like public transportation, ride sharing, etc. I feel like some of this stuff we're gonna have to just do in phase 2, like that sort of. But the walking and biking, again, we're gonna be able to address in a more holistic way with the traffic folks. And really understand the walk and bike plan, put our eyes on that again. And Brad, do you have any update on that Elm from the county, the Elm and Big Bend intersection? Do you know where that is by any chance?
I haven't heard in a while.
Okay.
I know I went to a meeting about it, but that's been a few months ago.
Okay. Okay. All right. I keep forgetting to ask Todd about that. I'm gonna make a Todd list. He's gonna love that.
He's been on vacation for a week. Everybody's got a time.
Okay, maybe I won't come at him too hard at the beginning of next week. Okay, so yeah, so
Can I
that's
ask a quick question?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think I looked at the 2014 plan once, so forgive me, maybe it's in there. Is the core premise of that plan, and I guess by extension, this plan, is it around like making within the community of Webster more of like bike and walk friendly, or is it about enabling like last mile transit opportunities for people who live in Webster and giving them accessibility to transit options that take them somewhere else? Because they're two, I think, like really different things that
Mhm.
require different approaches,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of curious which one, like if to the degree you have to choose a priority, which is the one that we're really interested in trying to facilitate.
Yeah,
through this.
yeah, that's a good question. Like for
It's
focus,
not last mile.
yeah,
Yeah,
Okay,
2014
Okay, it's
was
about
more
just
like
making
you-
within the community people to walk by.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and the difficult thing about that plan, if you really read through it, is that there are very few sort of concrete things listed in the plan. There's a large matrix that describes putting up more signage for share the road type signs. It's really unfortunate, but there's very little that you can point to and say, we could implement this from that plan.
So it didn't have roads identified.
it had some pathways identified, right, John?
It did, but essentially it's 95% of that plan was signage.
And that's why we had a subcommittee identify the north, south, and east, west corridors. It wasn't a suggestion from the plan. That was just something that we knew that we needed to address sooner rather than later. So the plan is there. The plan is not, where we stop.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing that was identified in the plan, we actually finally implemented, which was bike lanes on Lockwood.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So from the perspective of moving forward,
Yeah.
the 2014 plan sort of de-emphasized as a focus for driving action now, or
I think it's
Are you
a,
talking
it's a
about
tool.
the trail net?
Yeah.
Document,
Mhm.
it had to do a lot with curb cuts, so they did those, they,
And they added sidewalks some places,
Right.
like that central sidewalk. on Central.
yeah, and then just, smoothing out those transitions from sidewalk to street,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and then the bike lane. Wasn't very, but I mean, at the time, it was a big new thing, now it seems so simple,
Mhm.
what we did, but yeah.
But they've had plans all the way back to like 2009 was, right? Jeff,
Yeah.
is not where our
So,
first one was,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's there, but it's,
I think
Yeah. it needs help. Okay, and then here we are again with EVs, which we're gonna push back for a little bit longer. Some of this, like in this first focus area, air quality and then creative solutions, again, that's like phase 2. I feel like we've got a lot of things that we can be doing really effectively with the monies allocated and the opportunities to work with other commissions. So we're gonna skate on right to the next focus area, which is the built environment. And then the city owned and operated buildings. I think one of the things that jumps out at me here is that we need to benchmark all of our energy usage, especially, like, I know solar isn't going up like this summer. So we need to get that kind of so we have those numbers and we can start to measure things. That is a bit of a lift to benchmark, and I think that what Collinsville did was they hired that SI, or like partnered with SIUE, and they had a student do it. Sorry. Sorry about that. So I don't know if any one of us wants to do that. I know that, and this is still true, Pam, that did council give us like a few hours from a city employee to work on the plan a little bit, should it be adopted? I know we had discussed that.
That's a quest, that's something we need to hear the priorities from you on.
Okay.
that. We just need to hear your priorities and your goals in the short term.
Okay,
So that would be, as far as the liaison, just outlining really what that scope would be
Okay.
on a part-time basis.
okay.
feeling that.
Webster Youth Kids, that would help.
Yeah.
I talked to Carla about that opportunity. Their program at Webster U is not super robust. And so she does think that that is a potential that one student would be able to contribute. But right now, she doesn't know who, obviously not yet,
Yeah.
not until for a couple more months, but
So Jamie,
yes,
what the city of St. Louis is doing, so they have a program essentially that is about measurement and verification called the Building Energy Exchange. Everybody over
Yes.
50,000 square feet has to use it, and they use the Energy Star Portfolio Manager. It's a free program that you use. It might be what Carla was talking about. I don't know how robust it is, but I think we could get some people from the local engineering community or USGBC to come in and discuss that. My assumption is you need someone on the facility side to fill that out, someone who's watching essentially the metering of utilities.
yeah. Eric did, he got it up to like 2018. He entered, I
Yeah,
can't
something
remember.
like that. It
Yeah,
was before the pandemic, I know.
Yeah. Eric had entered before he left, and prior to the pandemic, he had entered some data into Portfolio Manager for us, for the city buildings. I just don't know. I need to go back and look at my notes about that. But yeah, do you think, like, should we reach out to Emily, John Andrews?
I've been talking to her a little bit about it, and either her or somebody else in that organization could probably be a good start. I mean, City of St. Louis is doing this. So it's also something kind of I've been talking to you about, but if St. Louis County adopts the 2021 International Building Code, there's energy language in there about, very similar kind of energy conservation things that would be similar. And it's, if they adopt this and don't water down the language, it's going to drive a lot of this reporting. It'll be more common.
Yeah. they're looking to adopt the 2021.
Well, they're talking about it and they typically, I don't know what their schedule is, like every 12 years or something, they upgrade. It's pretty common.
Okay,
And ultimately, when they do, they will adopt it. There'll be much more stringent energy codes. It is possible that they could take out the portions that require you to meter and report, though.
hmm. Okay,
I just pinged our sustainability manager at our office. She said Energy Star portfolio manager is the way to go. Everybody uses it. Super easy. She can show us how to use it. So,
oh,
Fantastic.
awesome. Great, okay, so I think, getting things benchmarked here is a priority. So I just added that to a list. And, we'll figure out how we can do that, in the next couple of months to get that going. Okay. Let's see here. Looking at the plan and have we ever done an energy audit? Is that a thing here at City Hall? Or any of the city buildings?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
Could be done, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna put that on my tab list.
Yeah, I would guess it probably has been because we probably, they've over the last couple of years changed out all the lighting to LEDs and stuff, and I would assume that was part of that program, that
Okay,
they probably would have done that before
okay,
implementing that. So,
all right, we'll see how thorough that audit was and see if there's other opportunities there. Okay. So I think that's a good start for our city buildings. Our residential buildings as the other portion in this focus area, and our businesses / nonprofit and educational buildings. To collaborate and work with them on things, and for some of the residential opportunities out there, I was looking at I think it would be great to communicate with our residents without going into we're gonna change the code here or whatever. Instead of kind of going that heavy that quickly, maybe engaging them on some educational bits like gross solar power hours.
Yeah, how do you do that? Because I see one of the easy slam dunk things to do is the Amarin program, where you can get a rebate on a smart thermostat, and then by enrolling in a program where we've had 4 or 5 days already the last couple of months, where on super hot days when there's going to be a lot of electricity use, Amarin will send you an alert. And so what they'll do is they'll kind of, I know this freaks people out on some level, but they take control of your thermostat and they make your house cold early in the day when electricity is cheap. And then during 4 to 6 hour, they'll raise your temperature to reduce stress on the power grid. And then they'll send, but they'll notify you when they're doing this, and you get an update at the end. They say, here's how much electricity you saved. And it's a great program. And if you do it across, not just Webster, but across St. Louis area, you can really make an impact. I mean, that is a hugely impactful, but I think a lot of people just don't know about it. So how do we help?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about what the power hours used to be for those, for the solar folks. The before times it would be at the rec center gathering in the bigger room, and a presentation and a Q&A. I like that sort of thing, but I don't know how many people you're reaching with that sort of effort. like the last thing that we did in the summer of 2019, remember we did the mosquito collaboration with the GSAC, and that was great. And I thought that was a nice turnout of people, but again, Webster's a lot of people, and I don't know how else to communicate. We do have Jenny now, who is, but, and again, I'm not sure what the engagement is like on the Friday page, or like what the readership is. What the engagement looks like on Instagram is not a lot. But maybe on Facebook it's different. I don't Facebook, so I don't.
Maybe
So,
a multifaceted approach,
Yeah.
like power hour kind of things, plus Facebook, plus Friday page kind of stuff. You could do like a sustainability tip of the week or something.
oh, that's cute.
Don't we have like a website, or do we even have a page on the? site?
We have a page now. Jenny asked me for some content.
That would be, maybe resources or something to toss.
Yeah. Yeah, so that would be, but I would also like, yeah, people can search for it more easily on this new website, which isn't great. Cause it used to take 11 clicks,
Mm.
and I'm not kidding, to get to the sustainability page. But I don't, as far as like other ways of outreach, I would really like to get, like, there's and I have, this is in the natural part of our, Forever Webster Groves. Todd has a grant for Rainscaping. It's like a $200 grant, but I didn't know about it. Nobody knows about it. Like, those are the things that I feel like Jenny can help us lift the profile. And we can reach out to folks.
Yeah, even at like Jazz Fest or whatever, we're sitting there at our table, just directing to our website. Go to our little
Yeah.
website. Here's all the stuff you can do if you're interested, and you can find solar access or the rain screen.
Yeah.
Green garden.
Well, if we had that grants, if we had someone who used the grant, we could like take a picture and then
Oh, yeah.
WKT. Or what's the one where they like focus, where you get the magazine and it's like that family on the front of the cover?
Oh, yeah, that's a different organization. But Webster does like the city hall
Page
does
has pretty good
it.
circulation.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Facebook.
My perspective is that there's like something like that, that's Webster specific, where this money's out there not being used, that's very directly related to the
Mhm.
role of the commission, is like a more effective and efficient use of what this like group's reach is in terms of who is going to grab, rather than promoting a program for Ameren that they already have literally millions of dollars of outreach and investment in reaching people. They go in everybody's homes in their bill every month,
Mhm.
right? Like, can share this stuff. So it just feels like the best use of our time would be to try and make people or even maybe build a part of this that's about trying to reach some adoption usage platform on the grant, or exhaust the grant, to get people to use it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, it just feels like close to what our reach is and who the people are that we're serving in city programs. Feels like a really close match to me.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Can the money that's the Sustainability Commission is being allocated from ARP, can we use that for like other grant ideas? Or to kind of
Grant
fund
ideas
Todd?
for residents?
Yeah, for our
etc.
residents to,
That
even
is
know.
a
Promote
nuance I
behavior?
don't know.
okay,
So you could, dig it down.
okay,
You could find out. I mean, I think that the idea is you want to think about just bang for the buck, like
yeah,
how are you gonna get the best traction for moving forward on a program?
Mhm.
And this is like a one-time use. So
Right.
you don't want something that's gonna cost money later. You need to like just finitely spend the money
yeah, yes.
in the best way possible. And September 26th is when the money needs to be expended by.
This year?
No, 26.
Oh, September 20, I thought you were giving me like a
I
date.
was like,
Yeah, no, September 2026. I mentioned 26 before earlier, 2026.
Yes, got you, yes,
I
I'm
got the
sorry.
month. I know by the month. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
just what they're really excited.
Yeah. Okay, sorry for that freak out. Okay. So as far as the, I've got the question down for, I'll talk to Todd about his grant. With the Rainscaping and see how we can help. I would like to just like figure out a way to help our residents, even if it is a one-time, you know, this grant won't be renewed or, you know, whatever. Like try to, I don't even know what it is. Solar panels, do we help our folks get? I want to help to like make the connections for residents. I want to make it easier for them to do these things in their homes if it's an energy audit or.
I think the Grow Solar is, they're not doing it this year, but I believe they are going to start back up next year.
Okay.
And that actually is how I ended up with solar panels. I thought it was like a very informative, very like, once I went out like, oh, it actually like it's financially smart too, and like makes sense. I went to one at Schlafly and Maplewood,
Mhm.
so maybe it would be great if we do reach out to them to also reach out to our businesses and
Mhm.
see if there's a business who is, I know like Llewellyn's has a room, and I bet that there are other businesses that are willing to be a part of hosting.
Yeah.
If I had a business, I would think so.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's, all right, I like that idea too. Okay, so, helping our residents get connected is a priority. And then our, businesses and, I think the Webster Groves, School District, I think that's going to, I don't know, you know, with their facilities, obviously, that is not our business, but it would be great to partner with them in some fashion. Paul and I sat down with them in the spring to talk about, you know, all sorts of things, sustainability. They are curious to talk with us. The city and the school district, like, I apparently like years ago, it was a little bit sour. But I feel like there's a lot has changed and there's plenty of space to sweeten things up a little bit with our relationship with them. So that is also a fertile ground. I just don't know if that needs to be our phase one right now. And then as far as businesses go, I have like a whole brainstorm going on in my head about like getting keyed in with our business districts. Amna and I actually had this brainstorm when we were together at the art fair about really like encouraging our businesses and having somebody from this commission work with the Green Dining Alliance and helping to identify, you know, designate Old Webster and Old Orchard as green dining districts. And is that a way that we want to use money? You know, a 1-year grant for composting for businesses that aren't really sure about it, are a little timid but curious. You know, how do we help them? Because you have to pay a little bit of a fee to Green Dining to be a part of the program. You get audited by them. They give you a list of suggestions as a restaurant that you can go through. So how do we help our restaurants make that, you know, that leap? That's also like, I have a lot of ideas, you guys. Okay, so we can come back to that whole business thing, business and educational buildings and religious or not nonprofit institutions. Okay, lighting. Todd and I have talked about this a lot, the LED street lamps. And I know, Brad, y'all change them on an as needed basis, right?
Right.
Then is it silly to just change them all? Just doing it,
I thought Todd said you couldn't. I thought you couldn't change them until they died or something like
Really?
that.
Because
it's like Ameren
Yeah,
owns
Yeah,
them.
most of our streetlights, unless you have a dedicated meter, basically you pay Ameren to
that's right.
Cause that
have
was
the
when that, like,
streetlights.
the Baldwin had their lawsuit against
Yeah,
Ameren
yeah.
and they lost, and it doesn't look like it's gonna go anywhere. I got it and did some
Did-
reading.
Did you look it up?
Yeah, I did. It doesn't look good.
Okay.
Ameren wins.
Thanks for doing
Yeah.
that research. Okay, and then renewables, here in the focus areas, we've talked about that and how we can help people get more connected. Does anybody have any like real driving passion to talk about that is making it a bigger priority, or should we just kind of see what the city can do and how we can help our residents right now for phase one? That sound okay? All right, our natural environment is up next. Stormwater management, again, helping people get connected to like Todd's grant and other grants in the area, like the Deer Creek Alliance, monies that you can get for rainscaping and that sort of thing. We can populate our landing page with, you know, a page that says, hey, click here for all these great ideas, and put that out as a part of it. I think code analysis and updating is something that we can, that's phase two. You guys tell me if you feel passionately about it. Getting that done. And then water contamination. Fertilizers drive me crazy. Just because I don't think people connect the dots so that it's our drinking water. But perhaps that's part of phase two, again, social behavior changes and that sort of thing.
And on that,
Yeah.
you know, one thing I saw in another city do is a small city, which I thought was really sort of innovative, was just have a voluntary registry of residents who would sign off and say, you know, I don't use fertilizers in my yard. At least it kind of gets people to ask the question, well, why don't you use fertilizers on your yard?
Yeah.
Why do you use pesticide?
Yeah. Do they have like a little sign or something?
They did.
That would drive
But
some
they must,
behavioral change.
I don't know if they also kept it online, but you know, it's just like in the window at City Hall,
Mhm.
like here's our registry. But anyway, just something to think about in terms of trying to reach people and trying to do things through sort of ways, you know, if you do something, trying to do something through the code, you know, you'd have all sorts of
Yeah,
uproar at City Hall.
yeah,
But it's a good place, it might be a good place to start with some sort of voluntary registry of
Did anybody see any that post about no mow May? This year. It's to help pollinators as they're like coming out of hibernation. I think it started in Wisconsin, which their spring is like a month, I feel like, later than ours because of their climate. So we'd have to have like a no mow April, but all they did was they suspended any like
public right of way mowing and stuff like that.
yeah. And I was like, gosh, I wonder if Yvonne could like do like a little section in Larson and a little section at each park that just like, this is a pollinator helper.
No, I have seen the little yard signs in a couple of people's yards where this is butterfly garden.
Yes,
This is, don't
yeah.
break your leaves, do the
Yeah, yeah.
Or vacant house space.
paving on Villawood. I know one of the houses there, because I was standing next to a paper and trying to get in the shade.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that sort of thing is great.
Do we have a lot of, not do we, I think we also have a lot of HOA organizations in Webster, and that might be another point of outreach. Because sometimes those people control larger swaths of land and have, you know, a little. The neighborhood itself has like its own little stuff going on.
Okay. Yeah, like in your neighborhood, is that, yeah,
Yes. Mike and I control our neighborhood.
okay, great.
There are a lot of weeds.
Yay, pollinators.
But we only have a couple years left before the fertilizer comes back, so we gotta get the rest of the people on board.
Yeah, okay, all right, well, maybe we can help with that in phase two here. Okay, I put on there, we have on there, develop a drought action plan. I'm just like awfulizing and thinking of the things in the future that are gonna really suck. But obviously that is something that we do not need to tend to for this first phase. Okay, air quality, okay, so I know that Narix Hall participated in this citywide air quality kind of monitoring. I don't know if you heard about it through MCU, which is like Metropolitan Congregations United. They did like a clean water protest on the riverfront last fall, and they are trying to raise awareness of local issues on water, air, and especially when it comes to environmental injustices. And so I know Narix participated in this, and they have these fancy air quality monitors. I don't know much more about it because St. Anthony of Padua down in Dutchtown did it, and they're pulling all the data together through WashU, and WashU is analyzing it, and they are going to be coming out with a report. They're assuming that the air quality in Webster is going to be better than the air quality in Dutchtown. Socioeconomic factors that all weigh into that. But I was like, well, if people are starting to do things like that to pay attention, you know, how can we help take some of that data, local data, and extract that and say, hey, you know, Webster, how can we improve our air quality? Again, that is down the line, but that's one thing that I thought of. I think a lot of the air quality stuff, again, is going to be behavioral. And I don't know that it necessarily facilitates being a priority for our first phase. Unless somebody, you know, we have our green space people who are encouraging trees and that sort of great thing. If you guys are okay with it, I think we just kind of push through this and put that on phase 2. I know that was 5 o'clock and we are going long. I'm sorry. Okay, community engagement and development. We've kind of been talking about this peppered throughout. Waste reduction and recycling. This is like, again, the Green Dining Alliance idea that we can maybe explore, and I could write up a bit more about that for priorities if that's something that everybody might be interested in. Once it's explained a little more clearly. Maybe that's a way we spend some of the money. I would love to figure out a way to help our residents get closer to composting, either in their backyard. We've done the composters in the past. We just, Brad, y'all just did the composter grants, right? Have those been distributed?
Supply chain issues.
Yes,
We're
great.
trying to get a schedule from our supplier of when we can
Okay.
have that, so. I was hoping it would be done already.
Yeah. Have people signed up for, applied for?
No, we're waiting till we can get a confirmation on when we can get. We've got a number that we can get. We're trying to get a confirmation of when we can get those, so we can have that all posted when they sign up for
Okay.
it. So it's not something that they sign up for and then with an unknown date.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Because it's gonna be one day that everybody's gonna come and pick up their compost.
Okay. I just put that on my top list because I think that would be something that we would like to partake in somehow or another.
Okay.
At least we can
That would
hand out
actually be a
bags.
meeting, so I'm actually the one handling that.
Okay,
so
great.
So.
So I'll just put that, I'll shift that to Brad list then.
Yeah.
Great.
Start a Brad list.
I know you're thrilled. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Brad. Educational programming, again, I think there's lots of opportunities for us to reach out to folks if it's Grow Solar programs. That will, I think, happen very easily in the next year or two. Environmental justice. We don't have anybody, well, Amna lives in North Webster. I just want to make sure that we're taking care of all of our Webster neighbors. I just want to stay focused on that. And then city sponsored events. Did the city cover Jazz Fest? I don't know.
That's
Are
the
they-
business districts that are
Okay.
doing, that fund those.
Okay, so I'll reach out to them for that because there's a company
That's
called
Old Web-
Recycling
it
on
would
the.
be Old Webster Trade and or Old Webster Business District.
Okay. Yeah, I just think that, there are lots of waste reduction opportunities. Okay. Also reducing the number of plastic water bottles I'm looking at right now at City Hall.
Yeah, that's something.
Yeah, just little thing like a water bottle refill station.
That would be-
Is there
That
like,
would be that would be something. Especially if it were outside in public, that's
Oh,
the
okay.
only thing that would be,
and a little doggy one? Have seen,
Yeah,
have you
I
seen?
mean-
Yeah, agree.
yeah. That would be like a perfect thing with that money.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
And most of the water fountains in City Hall have the little spigots, so you
Yeah.
can refill your cup or your
Yeah.
bottle. or
oh, you
whatever.
do have,
Yes.
they're just like the little,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a little.
okay. Mhm.
loop
Oh, that's
thing,
good.
So.
Okay. That's good. I didn't know that. I don't often refill my water bottle. Yeah.
I do every time.
Good. Okay, so that I think is our plan, friends. I scrolled through our recommendations. Yeah, what else? What I'll do is I will pull this list together, put it in front of all of you to like glance at, and then depending on when council is gonna talk about the plan, TBD, then we'll have some priorities, I think, outlined. If anything, like if I missed things, which happens all the time, if you think of something that that you feel needs, prioritization, just email me or text me and let me know. And we can plug that. Cool.
So I do have an update.
Oh, yay. Okay, hold on. Let me hop to our agenda.
Or are we on there? I don't have an agenda.
Of course you're on there.
I know, but I didn't know.
Yeah, all right, the placement of EV chargers is our next item. Jeff, I think. Really, I mean, we can keep it short. But we are concerned about the placement of the EV chargers. Here at City Hall. And I don't know if our commission gets to weigh in on any. Of it, like placement. I know Todd said he's gotten a couple of bids out, but I don't want to do like well,
I didn't know where things were, like in terms of where in the process.
I would think if he's got the bids out, the
Yeah.
location's been specified, so. You would have to discuss that with him.
okay.
Um,
I brought it up with him and he said that he's like, well, I've gotten a couple of bids or a couple of quotes. I don't know what the difference is, but I am just worried that it will look a little. I don't even know if tone deaf is the right terminology, but like, if we're gonna put charging stations here for the public to use and expect folks to walk down there, I just kind of see that as a miss. Like, I know that we need some chargers here for our vehicles that, the city is, and do they park here? I don't know. Do the vehicles that are gonna be changed over to EV, are they gonna be parked here? Or they park at Public Works?
well, they're police cars, so. I'm
Oh, so two
imagining
police,
those would
I don't
be-
even think about that.
Right,
Yeah, were there 6 EV chargers at City Hall? Is that right?
As far as I know, they were all gonna be at City Hall.
Yeah.
Wasn't it 4 fleet chargers and 2?
Yeah.
And
public?
two public,
Right.
yeah,
right,
yeah.
so, you would have to. Figure out if there's other city-owned property parking lots that you would, where you would have charging. Stations. I would think the users just behaviorally would be used to walking and know how to look for those. The public users of the EV charging stations.
This is true, but we want more people to use it, so
Right,
yes,
so
I'll walk
you have to-
anywhere,
you have
but
to-
I want someone who maybe won't walk
If
anywhere.
you want to maybe identify some higher profile locations, you could do that and see,
Mhm.
maybe give like your top 3. Locations,
Mm-hmm,
based on intersection or something like that, just some way to identify the area and then you can, see what property is there. I think of, for example, the garage at the Novus development. Is that a better location in your eyes? I mean,
Is the Novus development the one
Right.
in Old Webster?
Yeah, I mean, that's a location that comes to mind that I know city owned.
Okay.
Right,
Um,
so I see quite a few
there's
people
also-
park there during the day, like
Right.
people who work in that area who park,
Right.
which makes a lot of sense.
The other locations we lease, I know we lease from the church, from the Presbyterian church parking lots there, so that's not really an option
Mhm.
unless you were to come, so.
In the rec center.
The
we-
rec
we-
center, I think the
I
rec
think
center
it's
is
the rec-
identified,
Okay.
Yes, I thought the rec center was
Yeah.
also getting some.
yeah.
Okay. And that's separate from the the 6 from the ARP funds, or is that a different? Funding source?
No, I think they're all ARP funds.
I can't remember if that's a 2 or 4 were going to the
Right.
rec center, but he did have an
Right.
allocation for the
So,
rec center.
I would maybe just ask about those locations compared to what he's got earmarked.
Okay.
And I do recall him saying the 6 were gonna be located here, there was a cost savings associated with.
Yeah, because you're
Install-
together,
Right.
because you're all at
Right,
once.
right.
Mhm.
But, so I mean, maybe we're talking in the future, it makes sense after we,
Phase
at
2.
some point down the road, when there's more EVs on the road. I did try to identify some
Mhm.
locations, but yeah,
I think
and
it-
you're probably the best person to speak to this.
Yeah, I think just
Sorry.
like when you're driving around, like when I'm like, oh, I don't usually need to charge, I just drive to where I live, but if I'm picking out a spot to go. And I need some charge, well, I'm gonna go to a Llewellyn's because they have a charger that's located in their parking lot and I can park there and go. So if there was something in the middle, it's a lot more likely that it's going to support our business district. If we have the charging stations in the business district, whereas if we have them at City Hall, I'm gonna sit in my car and turn on my Netflix on my phone and wait my 30 minutes and then I'm gonna drive away. So I think it's not,
But is a half
We're
a
not
block
thinking-
too far to walk or a block? and a half?
sometimes it depends on the day.
I mean, and I just think about people and especially in St. Louis, which is very car focused. Yeah, like they want to get as close as possible. I don't know. I just don't want it to look like it was like not totally thought through and a missed opportunity. And I'm not saying that I'm sure Todd has loads of reasons of why he's gotten it to this point. I mean, he and I have been exchanging emails. But
Right.
I also just feel like it's worth raising before we do it. As opposed to like kind of being publicly.
Ask him.
Yeah, and I know in the EV charging world, there is sort of a perception problem sometimes with government installing EV chargers and then
Mhm.
people driving down Lockwood every day going, how much do they spend on those? And there's no one ever parked there. And then the next time you want to put EV charger somewhere, there's a lot more pushback, but
You could, I mean, see how many public users there are to this building. I mean, we've got courts, we've got just out of curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it makes perfect sense to have chargers, obviously, that could be even, I don't know what the plan is, I guess, as far as this with the city fleet. Obviously, they're sitting there charging overnight when no one's here, but during the day, when people are out doing things and those chargers are vacant, can be accessible to the public?
I thought the ones that were not the city ones were going to be like charging users to use them. So I imagine that the ones for the city won't have a charge,
Gotcha.
and that they'll be
Okay.
somehow segregated from the ones that are for. But then maybe that's something to consider, because if they're more, like if they're just installing regular chargers that are really more for the city's fleet, I guess that's different than if they're having someone install a bunch of the, like the EV goes that you are installed at all the banks and stuff that you just pay per charge. So I guess it's a question
Yeah.
for Todd.
Do we have a map of all the chargers? You said there's one at the Wellens, whatever. Is
That's
there
the only one.
in all of Webster?
Yeah.
I think there's some in the parking garage behind there. Webster used parking garage.
Oh,
I know that
you
goes
might
my
be right.
neighbor.
You might be right.
Goes in charges his car or something.
Well, I'm just curious if we
Is it
map it
higher
out and
powered
see
charger?
where there's some.
Yeah, I will say, I went to the electronics recycling at Brentwood Saturday
Yeah,
morning.
I did too.
and Those chargers were full. I mean, I was really encouraged with that, thinking, oh man, our rec center.
How many
lots of
do they
people
have? Two?
used- I thought they
Four?
had more than
They have,
two.
yeah, they
Awesome.
either have 4 or
Four.
6, I
Yeah.
thought, yeah.
Cool. Okay, I'll reach out to Todd and see if we can have this discussion a little more to see about placement. And we'll go from there. Okie dokie. Sorry, y'all, you have been incredibly patient. Thank you. Pam, do you have an update for us?
Oh. Well, the budget did pass last week. So officially on the books, like I said, for your ARP funds, we do not have it on the agenda for you all to present your priorities. So I would like to know from you, and you can decide later. I can request to put that on the agenda with other council members. Laura will do it as well with me. So if you think you can be ready on July 19th with your priorities and your budget options, let us know. If
Okay.
you'd like, wait till August for that, that's more realistic. We can request an August date.
I think I might be on vacation. Unless somebody else wants to.
So I don't know. Yeah, and I'm not sure we'd have to present the priorities. We need a presentation from you or
Okay.
just the list. And maybe Todd does the presenting and you're not, not necessarily doing that work.
And are the priorities are for like a person from City Hall, not on whether or not the plan gets adopted or not? Am I understanding correctly?
We have not formally adopted the plan, so we would be talking about a resolution towards adopting the plan, but it would be good to have the priorities from you on what is feasible within that budget for adopting it. So we're asking for a plan and a budget from you all.
I think that July might be a little soon.
That's what I was thinking.
Probably August,
Okay,
if we can be.
okay,
yeah.
so just let me know on July 5th. That's the earliest I can request that it goes on there. If you don't
Okay.
even want me to talk about it until the 19th, I can wait and talk about it on the 19th.
Okay, let me see what I can pull together and put in front of all of you in the next couple of weeks, but I feel like July. I mean, we usually don't meet in July,
That's right.
yeah,
okay.
so just because I feel like Webster kind of unplugs. To use an electricity term, yeah. Our
Might
next,
even be more realistic to say September, just
you
that's
think,
like, I
with
mean.
the start of
if-
school and.
Yeah, I would say if we've got to have like a planned out budget, I just feel like if not, it will shoulder a lot of burden on you, Jamie.
I thought we were tying this plan to no budget, and like, and we were just saying, hey, this is our hopes and dreams for the future, no time frame or anything like that. And
We're not, but since you have the $100,000, it would be good for you to have some priorities with that's workable, so we can tie it all together. If it's too loose, you're not gonna get the attention of everybody. We're also doing a strategic plan as well, and so that will help with the strategic plan, getting that going. Like where you all fit in the strategic plan.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to be, I think it could be like, 20,000 here, 10,000 here. It does not have to be super, detailed, but
Okay.
just kind of a general outline of where the money can go. I would think your top 3 or 5 initiatives and what would those cost?
Okay. All right,
Some of them are already built in and free.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's helpful, and I think then, Elizabeth, the timeline that you said, like, probably in September. That would give us the opportunity to have a conversation. Our next meeting will be August 15th. And so that'll give us an opportunity to all be together. And to be able to discuss what that loose budget looks like officially, and then work on, have a minute if we needed it to work on anything that needed to be adjusted, and then be able to share it with council. That sound good to everyone? Okay. Thanks, Pam. All right. I mentioned our next meeting is August 15th. And I don't see that as a conflict to anything right now. And so we will just call for a motion to adjourn.
So
I'll
moved.
move to adjourn.
A second.
And Jeff will second it. Jeff M. will second that, John.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Brad. Do you want this back, my friend?
Thank you.
John, thank you.
Hey, glad
Take
you could
care.
accommodate me.
Yeah, you bet.
See ya.
Bye. Okay. That was a long one. Sorry, friends.
It's okay, a lot of good stuff on there.
Yeah, important stuff to talk through.
And it means we're making progress. We got stuff to talk about, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, you're coming over?
Hmm.
Elizabeth? Jeff and Jeff?